I sniff out competence like a German shepherd on a cocaine trail at the airport. Today, we're talking about hiring people to help do the work for you. That's the power of a good operator. You do what you promise, they do what they promise, and the checks get deposited while you're living life. Now, before you get all excited with dreams of other people doing your work, let's talk about the tale of two operators. It turns out you should always use the word family really carefully. We realize, holy hell, we've actually been taken for a ride. I think you are out of your mind if you have a business that's doing over $1 million in revenue and you don't have specialized recruiters. This episode is for you whether you own a business or want to buy one, because your goal as the owner of a business is to hire a team that runs your entire business better than you. So if you're going to buy a business, I'm going to teach you how to find that operator and hire them. If you already run a business, I'm going to teach you how to think through making sure your operator is the right one so you can own the business, not be owned by it. So in business, unlike sports, we don't fall to the levels we practice. We fall to the level of those we hire. This is the secret rule of ownership, and it's really hard. Here, the captain and all-star of your team is your operator, the one who runs the plays day to day while you fund it and find your next deal, or while you are working on the business, not in the business. Now, before you get all excited with dreams of other people doing your work and growing your bank account poolside, let's talk about the tale of two operators. Tale one, the dark side. This is actually a true story. The keys to the business, they're mine. I just bought a 12-year-old business that would profit each of us a few $100,000s a year, or so I thought. My operator found me the business, promised to run it as well. Perfect, right? Months pass and the business is growing slightly slower than we thought, but that happens. We've asked for a few updates. We've had a slight push and pull on the business, but we give the operator a lot of rope. We trust him. It's his first business takeover with me, but you guys, I love the guy. I mean, he's basically family. We're like best buds. I think I know all about him. I think we're totally aligned on my best interests. Then one night on our annual family summer vacation, I get a weird email from my accountant. Turns out our operator was on vacation too. And the accountant started running the numbers in his stead. My other guy's gone. Small problem. The math, it's not mathing. So I'm trying to call the operator, isn't answering. And after several late night phone calls, which the operator wouldn't pick up, and many more texts, which she definitely left me unread, we realized, holy hell, we've actually been taken for a ride. Our little business was living on fumes, likely funding our operator's European vacation from the profits of a business that are apparently far from profitable. So after many sleepless nights, months of work, lost friendships, we finally get the business back from him and we turn it around. We didn't turn around totally. It wasn't a success like I wanted to. And it turns out you should always use the word family really carefully. Now, tale two is the bright side. What does a good operator look like? Well, you have conversations like this. So I call my operator, changed his name here so that he doesn't get embarrassed. I say, what is this deposit for? $14,850. I ask while checking one of our bank accounts. Oh, that's a Portco payout. Name change, just send it through, he replies. Mailbox money. It is possible. You see, the guy who runs one of our portfolio companies, he works harder than we do, treats the business like it's his, does what he says he's going to do, is better actually at running this business than we are, and he has fully aligned incentives, which means that he makes money when I make money, and he doesn't make money when I don't make money. That's the power of a good operator. You do what you promise, they do what they promise, and the checks get deposited while you're living life. Is it always perfect? Sadly, no. Does he make mistakes? Yeah, I think he'd be the first to admit that. But once you have worked with pros, you'll never allow for another amateur. So at this stage of the game, the most common question I get from new owners, maybe like you, is this: after I buy the business or after I build up the business, how do I manage the damn thing? And if this is how you're feeling, don't stress. Most new owners don't know how to run a business that they've acquired. Most owners who run a business don't know how to have an operator. And they can't fathom how entrepreneurs like myself oversee anywhere from 10 to 30 businesses at a time. Now, the truth is, you guys, scale is really hard. So please don't buy 3 businesses simultaneously. But we all start off as beginners, and this game is one that can be an oddly fun mixture of bull riding meets tequila shot drinking, I guess. Because once you get to a certain level, I have a lot of businesses. You can see them all on Main Street Holding Company. I think there's 22 listed on there, and I only run really one. Many want you to believe that business ownership and operations is really difficult. You, the average person, can never do it. How dare I, Cody, simplify, and how dare you try? And my response to them is always, okay, if it's so hard being an owner, why don't you go back to being an employee? At which point they will chuckle and say, well, yes, I guess it is better than that, but I'm different. I'm something special. Now, the key to running a bunch of businesses and not driving yourself crazy is an operator. Do you actually need one? Short answer, no. I've bought many businesses to replace a job and then ran it myself to start. Long answer, I think it's way more fun than doing it all yourself. So consider my own experience with a laundromat. This might shock you, but I do not, in fact, know how to fix a washing machine. My husband doesn't even allow me to wash our own clothes for fear of my ineptitude with our residential machine. So you can only imagine the first day I walked in as the owner, I would have rather swam with sharks than be tasked with laundry operations, like mixing soap for large wash bashes, opening coin collectors. I had no idea what I was doing, you guys. Even operating this simple, boring business required skills and knowledge I didn't have. I would have been like an embarrassment if that was required. Thankfully, I had a guy. My guy brought the expertise needed to keep the business running smoothly. His role was essential. He was my operator. So this brings us to the crux of the owner-operator relationship. Owning a business where your daily involvement is minimal can feel strange. You might wonder if you're even necessary to the whole operation. Before you ask, the answer is yes. Your operator often relies on you as much as you depend on them. Symbiotic relationship. Your investment, their expertise. Together, that's how you have success for both parties.
The most effective way you learn is by modeling, right? You want to ride a bike? You watch somebody ride a bike. You want to chop food fast with knives, you line up those carrots and you chop them, and you do it again and again until you get it right yourself. This is how we teach people how to do acquisitions. This isn't curriculum or online courses. We model for you exactly how acquisitions are done every single week in our deal reviews live until you trial with your deals. If you are thinking about buying a business, we have facilitators, experts, and ambassadors that are doing deals, and they'll show you live what it takes to get it done. This isn't easy if you do it by yourself. So we want to be the hand to hold. If joining something like that sounds like what you need to buy a business, you're welcome to jump on a call with my team. Let's see if you're a fit for our community.
So let me tell you a couple examples of how I found a couple of my operators. One of my operators, Bobby, he runs our business buying marketplace called BizScout. I found Bobby because I was on a long search for somebody who could run this business that I had bought, but I wanted to grow. Step number one to finding a great operator is to create an avatar for that operator. And I spend probably the most amount of time of anything I do creating not just my job description, not just the job application, but actually my avatar. I close my eyes and I think about this, which is what I want you to do. In a perfect world, what would the most successful operator of this business look like? In my case for Bobby, I was like, well, he would have marketplace experience because he has already run a marketplace. He would be relentless because this is going to be really hard to build. So I probably would want somebody that was like a former athlete or had been at really hard companies, super hard charging. Then I was like, I would also want him to be good at sales. I think a lot of the job of being operators of companies is selling people to come with you and also selling your customers and also selling third parties and vendors. So I wanted him to be good at sales. He also needed to have technical ability. He's got to be able to understand the technology and hire engineers. And then I wanted a history of winning. I really never believe in hiring people when they are on a losing streak, just like I don't believe on betting on sports teams when they're on a losing streak. It's the same thing. They've got to break that streak and then they can come and work for you. And so out of all of this, I found Bobby. I went through, 50 plus resumes to find Bobby. And what I found was Bobby, one, he was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and also did different types of fighting. So athlete. He was also a former basketball player. Bobby also worked at a couple really high-performing companies, including SeatGeek and Amazon. Bobby also had a history of winning. He had grown both marketplaces he was at substantially. He was great at sales. He had led sales teams before. And a sneaky one that's good for an operator, other people wanted to come working for him. And one of my sneaks to figure out if somebody is actually a leader or a manager that nobody wants to follow is asking them this question. Amazing. I don't know if we're going to have the budget for it, but if you came over to our company, is there anybody that you think we absolutely have to bring over? That you're like, gosh, these guys on my team are so good. We should totally bring them. If they say nobody, red flag. If they name a few people and say, we could figure it out, I could probably talk them into unique pay structures, we can move this, that's a leader. So in my case, hiring an operator was mission critical. because I wanted the business to become a well-oiled machine under his daily supervision. I wanted to do more deals and add them on and finance them and build toward our future growth. So we brought two totally different skills together, but worked together really nicely to create more profits. And that's the name of the game. And if I hadn't found Bobby, I probably would have been really miserable running this business. I would have been miserable. I did not want to run this marketplace and my own business. I actually think it's really hard to run multiple businesses at once. I highly implore you to not do it. So here is how I find Bobby's. Let's see if we can find one for you. One, I like to steal proven talent. Let's say you're buying a car wash. Start getting to know, going to, and calling all the top competitors in your area. The best talent does the job already, but for somebody else. The best talent is not looking for a job. Don't sleep on stealing proven talent from other businesses, especially ones where you love the business. That is number one, burn it into your brain. This is how I get most of my talent. Number two, ex-military. Former military members often make incredible operators. Disciplined, they establish hierarchy, they can make decisions under pressure. Programs for veterans are a fantastic place to scout for potential operators. Most of the veteran hires I've made were through like the SEAL Future Foundation, Goldman Sachs Veteran Integration Program, Veteran Career Transition Assistance Program. You can also get the word out on veteran jobs boards. There's a lot of them. Now, I may be biased. I'm married to a former Navy SEAL, but in my mind, veterans are big. I also find, and this is personal bias, that, man, the special operators are probably the strongest candidates from those. Now, the next one is recruiters. I know this seems obvious. I think you are out of your mind if you have a business that's doing over $1 million in revenue and you don't have specialized recruiters. It is their entire job, and they do this for a living. So don't be short-term greedy, aka you don't want to pay a recruiter, and long-term stupid, aka you're going to get the worst candidates. If I know one thing it is to be true, is that your business will never be successful if you cannot find and attract top talent. If you cannot find and attract top talent, somebody else will do it better than you will. So whenever I go to find a recruiter, I look for a recruiter with subject matter expertise. When I ran a financial company, I went out and I recruited a recruiter. I went to all the recruiters in the space and I said, okay, who are the best recruiters? I got references on them. I reached out to former people that they hired. I reached out to former companies that they recruited for. Imagine that, like, there is a recruiter right now in your industry with the biggest hire that you're struggling with the most right now, who literally can pick up the phone and in 15 minutes of you telling them the avatar that you want and giving them the incentives you're going to give them, reach out directly to the person that you need to hire. And this has happened for me again and again and again. Number 4, competency collector. I sniff out competence like a German shepherd on a cocaine trail at the airport. Once you know the scent, you can't help but jump on it. And I think people say business cards are dead. They've never hired operators for blue-collar businesses before. Keep a few of your cards on hand. Then every time you see somebody go above and beyond, give them your card. Collect competence. You'll never know when you could need it next. I hire a lot of employees just by finding people who get shit done. We call them the GSDs. Number 5, the friend flywheel. We all occasionally get that person who asks us if we know anyone for XYZ position. Here's the catch here. Be the person that takes 10 minutes every time someone asks to try to connect them to someone. Try to actually find the person that they're looking for. At the very least, give them a few names. Why? Because you're going to ask for a favor one day too. Small actions of giving ripple into big time waves. So if you're the friend people go to for talent, they'll be the same for you. Number 6, one of the last ones, social media hiring. I consider this the superhighway. Your social media is a walking billboard. Use it as a hiring funnel. When you build in public, your billboard stands on people's commutes for free. This done right brings you competent candidates who are more likely to understand your mission and believe in it. You know, I've spent years building up a really big social following, and that means that one post leads to hundreds or thousands of potential hires. You know, recently we received over 500 applications for an operator job listing for one company. They came from my social channels alone. And in fact, if you guys are ever looking for jobs, go to contrarianthinking.co, scroll to the bottom for careers, and there's tons of them on there. We're always looking to hire. Make sure that you and your business have that same, because I think the amount of money you make will always be limited by the level of talent you can attract. So don't shortchange yourself. Do whatever it takes to find a great operator. See you next week. I believe you are capable of building big, beautiful companies.
Hey, I have something special for you for being such a loyal listener because you're here with me all the time. I get asked by a bunch of you, how do I tell if I should buy a business or not? Should you buy a business or not? What price should you buy a business at? How do you structure your deal? I got you, fam. So I'm going to gift you our deal calculator. Every time I look at a deal, I grab the numbers, plug it in here, and see how much money I could make or lose if I did a good or bad deal. So this is my gift to you. And if you're serious about buying a business, we want to help you. You can talk to my team about if you're a fit for our business buying community or curriculum. No matter what, here's your free gift. And if you need a hand to hold, I got you too. Hey crew, this is so cool. The podcast is growing like crazy, and it's only actually because of one thing, you. I don't know if you know this, but the only way the Big Deal Pod grows is when you share it with somebody else. We don't do ads, we don't do pay for play, we don't go on other people's podcasts and talk about it. So if you think there was something helpful here, if we made you money, we made you think about your business or life differently, the most beautiful thing you can do for me is share it. And the most beautiful thing you can do for someone that you care about is to share it with them, help them grow alongside you. So please share the pod. That's how we grow. And also tag me on anything you share. I love resharing other builders across Instagram, Twitter, and all other platforms. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're super important to me. Yesterday, a guy I would call a friend, Charlie Kirk, was murdered. I wasn't sure I was going to do anything about it. I was going to post anything publicly about it because I can't even imagine what his family is going through and what his really close friends are going through. You see, a few years ago now, Charlie Kirk and I talked about potentially doing something on college campuses together. He believed, like I do, that education is maybe the most important thing that we do. Charlie and I didn't agree on everything. And I don't think that's something we should strive for in humans, actually. I think it's a really good thing for you to disagree, sometimes intensely, with other people. But we were talking about, or really I was trying to convince Charlie that we should talk about business and economics and making money on college campuses because it felt like kids had no hope there anymore. Like they thought that the generations before them got it better than they did, and they did not have economic opportunity. And I wanted to talk to them about how could we change that for them. And then time got away from us, and Charlie kept going until he became one of the biggest speakers on college campuses all around this country. And the reason I'm doing a quick podcast on it is because it has rattled me so deeply. I think that freedom of speech and the First Amendment is one of the most powerful things we can have as a country. I'm a former journalist. Our entire profession is built upon that right to speak. And that, I have a belief that deep down inside, if you cannot beat someone's arguments, then you need to be better skilled, not to hope they die. And I wrote down a few things because I didn't want to mess this up too badly by doing it publicly, but I have a couple thoughts. And the first thought is that you builders, the people who listen to this, we need you now more than ever. I think this country was built by doers just like you, those who believed that you could build stronger and not have to tear things down. See, I believe that it's harder to build a house than it is to burn it down. I don't know how to build a house, but I could burn one down. And so inherently, it is always easier to tear down others, and it is always easier to apparently even kill another than it is to push back on their ideas by having better ideas yourself. The only other side of this is that I do actually believe in you. I meet you all over the world, everywhere, every day, real humans who I think are building the world that you want. And whether you agree with Charlie or many of the things that he stood for is sort of irrelevant, I think. It's a call to action for me, at least, to stand up and stop playing small and to keep building bigger and to get in the arena and to allow the competition of ideas to expand and to be thrilled at the idea that another human could have a debate with you, like an old school style debate in which ideology could combat against one another and see what the best for humanity could come out on the other side. I think it's a tragedy when anybody passes. I think it's a tragedy that we lost multiple youths as well on the same day. But having known Charlie, albeit briefly on the internet, I can say that the ideology to me of faith and freedom and believing that others should be heard even when you disagree with them is probably one of the most potent things that we can do. And there was a quote from Charlie that I love, and it's that if you believe in something, you need to have the courage to fight for those ideas, not run away from them or try and silence them. I think the worst thing that we could ever do is allow violence by anyone to silence another. And I won't be preachy about anything on here, but I will say that anybody who is cheering a fellow citizen and them being murdered probably doesn't want you to win either. And eventually they turn on you, whether you want to or not. And so I think as a society and as a country, we need to come together a little bit more with the idea that it's not a good thing for people to be assassinated in this country. I called my parents last night, actually, because I was really sad. And so I called my dad and said, do you remember when assassinations happened in the US when you were a kid? And he said, but it was a different time because social media isn't around you constantly. So, you know, their family members didn't have to see people celebrating and dancing on TikTok when they passed. You know, they didn't have to hear jokes and puns about it immediately following. And I just think that maybe a little bit of kindness would be something really useful both sides could use right now. And if you take nothing else away from this and what we're talking about, I hope maybe you take this, which is your ability to defend your ideas and then change your mind once you find better ones is the single greatest reason you will succeed in life. Our democracy, this country, and any other country falls if we actually do not allow our ideas to compete. It's core to humans. And it matters in science, and it matters in math, and it matters in business. You know, on this podcast, we've had Hindu monks, we've had a former pastor, we've had politicians on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, we've had billionaires, we've had people who are broke. We've had the whole gambit. And the reason why is because we have to think like contrarians and question everything. And so today I'm sad. And my condolences go out so deeply with his family and his wife and his beautiful children, and with all of us who would struggle in a world in which violence is the action to difference of opinion. So thank you for listening. And I hope this is a little bit of a tribute to a man that to me made a very big impression and who was not afraid to say his quiet part out loud. you do not take enough risk for the amount of money you say you want. And small business acquisition is also the fastest, most overlooked way to build wealth in America. I want you to visualize yourself in this because this could be you could be Cody. And not this Cody. He bought a business where he was with what he had, then he took it to grow it. Hi, I'm Codie Sanchez and welcome to the Big Deal podcast. You want to get rich? Build relationships with people in finance. They understand the game of money. I'll give you 7 acquisition terms you should know to speak their language. But before we get into that, I want to share this quote with you. Michael Jordan didn't wake up early because he loved mornings. He did it because mediocrity felt like a personal insult. He wasn't chasing balance, but meaning. Discipline is dragging your half-dead body to do what you hate. No one writes about the semi-committed. And with that, let's jump into these 7 terms that will make you some money. And you got to stick with me, even if you hate the word finance. The first one, free cash flow or FCF. If you're going to be obsessed with any number in your business, it should be this one. It's the cash left over after you've paid all operating expenses and capital expenditures. Another way to say that is building improvements, vehicle purchases, anything you buy. So we're going to take your operating cash flow minus your CapEx. Net profit, aka net income. It's the total earnings profit calculated after subtracting costs from revenue. Costs here equal costs of goods sold. So depreciation, interest, taxes, and all other expenses. This is the true profit. Like this.
There are 2 types of businesses, a cash suck business and a cash flow business. Here's the difference between the 2. Cash suck, you provide the service, then you get money. Cash flow, you get the money, then you do the service. You only make money maybe 1 or 2 times a year. Cash flow business, lots of little checks continuously, ideally subscriptions. So you have 2 big clients. If they leave, you're in trouble. Cash flow business, you have lots of clients, which diversifies your risk. You use RFPs and custom products so that every time you deliver a service, it looks different, a lot more work for you. Cash flow business, your service is productized, so you deliver the same thing again and again and again. This business that does $1 million in revenue and this business that does $1 million in revenue are not worth the same thing. You want cash flow businesses, repeatable, predictable, de-risked businesses, not cash suck businesses.
Working capital. See this as the cash you use to fund daily operations. Current assets minus current liabilities. Current assets equal cash plus inventory plus money owed by customers. Current liabilities mean accounts payable plus wages payable plus money owed to suppliers. Accounts payable equal the things that you have to pay. Wages payable equal the money you have to pay your employees. And money owed to suppliers is for things you have outstanding, maybe like vendors. EBITDA, the gold standard for talking about true operating profit in deal making. It stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It ignores non-cash expenses, financing, and tax deductions. It's used to calculate what a business is worth. Let's break it down like this. What are the 3 things you need in order to value a small business? First, profit and loss statement. How much money is coming in? How much money is going out? I care about net income, how much money you make that goes in your actual pocket. 2 is tax returns. You want to match up what the owner says they make, aka their P&L, with what they pay the tax man. Because guess what? They're probably not overpaying the IRS. So you know at least that business makes what they said that they make. Third, understanding of the market. What do these things trade at? Small businesses typically trade at anywhere from 2 to let's say 6x profits. So if your small business has 100K in profits, you should be buying it for 200 to 600K. With those 3 things, you're about 80% to where you need to be to know how to value broadly a small business. The devil in the detail is the 20%. Valuation. You'd use this to determine the sales price of a company. It's often calculated as a multiple from EBITDA or SDE, seller discretionary earnings, or profit. Let's say the multiple for auto shops is 3 times EBITDA. The business has an EBITDA of $50,000, then the valuation is $50,000 times 3, that's the multiple, equals $150,000. Next is LBO, aka leveraged buyout. It means using money borrowed mostly from other people to buy a business or do a deal. Similar to how you pay 20% down and borrow 80% from the bank to buy a house. Private equity does this, but for businesses, basically the same thing. The assets of the company are often used as collateral to secure the funds. Next, we got seller financing, where the seller acts as the bank in a deal. You pay them over time at a lower interest rate than a bank, using the profit from the business you buy from them. It's rare but possible to get a business for $0 using this method. And small business acquisition is also the fastest, most overlooked way to build wealth in America, owning boring, profitable businesses that everyone else ignores. If you followed me for a while, you know I give away about 90% of my playbook for free $99. I make YouTube videos, I write books, I give talks around the country, I have a newsletter, I host this podcast, which you subscribe to, right? But there's a reason thousands of people in our community have gone from employee to owner. It's because they got access to the missing 10%, the step-by-step blueprint that uses all of these terms to actually get deals done. So for those of you interested in that last 10%, this September 19th through 21st, I'm hosting Main Street Millionaire Live. 3 days, virtual, where my team and I are going to walk you through exactly how you find, buy, and scale the right business for you. We've put in over 10,000 hours testing this stuff. And after helping more than 9,000 people become owners, we're opening the vault. This is the closest thing you'll get to sitting next to me while we do deals together. So as you listen to this episode, think about it as an appetizer. If you want the full meal, the actual blueprint to financial freedom through ownership, go to msm.live. That's Main Street Millionaire .live, MSM Live, to reserve your spot today. If you click the link in the bio, you get $50 off. That's 50% off the cost of coming to MSM Live. It's like less than a latte, which is ridiculous for you guys to learn how most people get rich in the world. Also, I want to end on this other thing. I just heard an acquisition story that basically made my heart melt. I want you to visualize yourself in this because this could be you. You could be Cody, and not this Cody. This Cody was a 6-year veteran, number 2 at a production company in California, runs the show while his boss lives in Utah. Here's how he went from someone else's employee to becoming an owner of a business in 90 days. Cody landed on our content about ownership. He was 12 years building somebody else's empire. And he'd been leading operations at this production company. At the time, Cody and his wife had been saving for a house, so it wasn't like they had tons of cash lying around. But after having a chat, they decided to use their house fund to buy a cash flowing business instead. Not an easy task, but this happened to be when I launched my 3-day business buying workshop last year. So he attended the whole event, and he shared that those 3 days gave him the tools and the confidence he needed to get to work. And not my words, but his, that's how he bought the business. So as soon as the live event ended, Cody started hunting for deals. He looked at laundromats, a couple other business models, but none were prepared to offer seller financing, what he needed. Props to him for not giving up. And after tons of rejection and people telling him to pound sand, and it would be impossible to find this in Southern California, he eventually landed on Pool Roots. Now, Pool Roots isn't your typical business acquisition, but for context, you only purchase the client base, not the whole business, which is cool. So this caught his eye, and he reached out to the owner. The listing description was like 40 pool route generating $70K annual, seller asking $60K for it, $36K down, $24K seller financing, 0% interest. Guess what Cody's savings were? $36,000. So the seller was retiring and was looking for his next thing. He wanted somebody who'd actually take care of the business, not just extract cash and run. Cody's military background plus genuine interest in learning the industry gave him this credibility. So in 2 weeks, the deal moved from handshake to close. Why so fast? Cody had a tiny window at his job where work was slow. So here's another smart move from Cody, not quitting his job. Don't go all in until you're cash flow positive. So it took him a few months to figure out how to start making money in the business, and now he has a business that's profitable. 3 months into the business, here's what he has accomplished. The route grew from 40 to almost 50 pools. Monthly revenue, $7K. Monthly payment, $2K. Cody's take home, somewhere between $4 and $5K monthly profit while learning the business, which is really impressive. The best part is Cody's already thinking like an owner, hired and training a pool tech, future operator, building systems so he can remove himself from operations. He wanted to hit 150K ARR by the end of the year. Not only that, he has plans to own the entire pool cleaning supply chain. So he's thinking, all right, I'm gonna buy some roots. Then I'm gonna buy pool supply stores. Then he's going to add on new services like calcium removal or reverse osmosis machines. Those make a lot of extra income because they're bigger projects. Also makes his business more defensible. What I love about Cody's story is he had the guts to bet on himself, and he didn't have to go huge and buy a giant business. He bought a business where he was with what he had. Then he took it to grow it. I love this story because Cody did the thing that most of us just talk about. You want to know a hard truth? You do not take enough risk for the amount of money you say you want. So do the risky thing. And also, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, hit that fucking subscribe button.
he was like talking about how everyone to launch it. And then Gayle King came up. And I was like, I was on the CBS show with Gayle King like a decade ago. Let me just make a video. And he's like, I'm like, trust me. Hey, Gayle, it's Blake. 10 years ago, you helped me launch Tom's. I'm launching enough. I would love to come on the show. What do you think? Sure enough, we launched it with Gayle King. Yeah. Like sometimes the simplest thing is just like, just make the video, ask the person to buy it. Like, I mean, just like it's simple things.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely don't ask enough. That is for sure. Yeah. And I think
Can I say something to that?
I would love that.
No, because this is something that I feel so grateful for in my life right now. So when I was building Tom's, you talked about celebrities involved. We had a lot of celebrities, a lot of people supporting Tom's. But I felt so much pressure whenever I would go to a meeting or pitch someone like, will you wear our shoes or whatever, because my personal identity was tied to whether they said yes or no. So every rejection, which you're going to get a lot of rejections as an entrepreneur, was like personally painful. So it caused me stress, anxiety, all these things. Now, because I really do feel I'm enough, whether you like the bracelet, whether they like the bracelet, whether anyone likes the bracelet, I know that there's someone that this is really going to reach and is going to touch them, that now I have no problem asking anyone anything, because if they say no, it's no big deal, because it's not my personal identity as whether they like it or they say yes or whatever. And so that's been so fun for me, because now as I'm going out to different, Kid Cudi is one of my partners. I cold called him.
No big deal. That's wild.
Cold called him. I mean, literally, I, had a friend that knew his manager, and I had read about how he had really struggled with mental health, had suicidal ideation, like a lot of the same shit that I went through. And he just seemed like a real, like genuine guy. And so I talked to her, and she's like, I can get it in front of him. She got in front of him. A day later, he's like, hey, can I do a Zoom with Blake? All of a sudden, I'm Zooming with Kid Cudi. And then a week later, he's one of our founding partners of Enough.
Yeah,
But
wild.
if he would have said no, I wouldn't even thought 10 seconds about it. I would have been on to the next.
Well, you know what else is cool? I just learned this. Like, you can go to IMDb, sign up for their premium thing, and see every single famous person's agent.
Yeah,
go
they
ping them.
hate this. Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna like delete this part. Yeah, whatever. That's your job. That's why you get paid the 10 to 20%.
Yeah,
go with it.
Exactly.
But I think the cool part is, and what I hope people take away, is that even though you've had this huge career and you've built all these big businesses, these are actually little micro things that anybody in the world could do.
Oh.
Because, how many times do you think you've been rejected? Like, your life?
Just with Enough. I'm not going to put some celebrities and athletes on
A
air,
blast?
or their agents, but like, you can think of any mental health any celebrity that has had a mental health challenge that has talked public about it, or any Olympic athlete that has a huge platform about mental health. I have cold called every single one of them now. And I only have 6 founding partners. There's hundreds of them. So that means that I'm still waiting to hear back from agents of hundreds of these people who say mental health is the most important thing in their life. And I'm saying, you can help us raise tens of millions of dollars by just wearing the damn bracelet. Nothing.
You want to call one of them out publicly? That is, but I think that's the game.
Yeah.
So I think,
you know what I'd like to do? I'm going to give you a list. And in the show notes, because I don't want to call them out, but I'm going to say, this is my top dream 30 people to be ambassadors of Enough. So if anyone is watching or knows their manager or knows them, because all these people, it's not like I'm asking them to do something they're not already doing.
Yeah.
They're already saying, I really care about mental health. I got through this. I want to help other people. So in the show notes, I'm going to give you my list of my top 30. And hopefully someone can get us to one of them, and we'll have a new founding partner.
I love that. That'll be huge. All right, let's go, YouTube. I like this. Okay, I also want to talk about, you seem to have this, like, I don't care, fuck all these people, fuck whatever they think. But you have had numerous, like what my dad would call dark nights of the soul.
Yes.
Where you have like looked at the darkness in the face that I think all of us have felt, either just as a fucking human, but also as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be interesting. I don't know which one you want to share, but like, I'd love to hear about a night where you just head in hands didn't know what to do next, and then how you got through that. For maybe the person that's listening right now with their head in their hands.
Yeah. I mean, I think the scariest thing for me was when I started getting depressed, and then it got worse, and I started trying to do all these external things to, built the dream house, moved my family to Costa Rica, got divorced, got remarried, got divorced again. Like, I did a lot of things to mess up my life. And there was a time, and in doing that, I, had in this, I didn't have as close a connection with my kids, and I then went to a psychiatrist who told me I was bipolar. And then I got put on all these meds. And I mean, like, my journey went from bad to worse to worse to worse to 2 years ago. I started waking up at 3 a.m. and I want to kill myself. And it was so fucking scary because I knew logically I would never do that to my kids. Like, I knew, like, but I couldn't stop thinking, like, go to your boat that that you lived on when you started Tom's. That was your happy place. Do it there. They'll never find you. Someone else. I mean, like, that's the level of detail. And I was dealing with this every single day, and I was keeping it. I was so ashamed because, like, look, I have money. I have a wife at the time. I have kids. Like who am I to, like, want to leave this earth? And so I wasn't telling anyone. And the thing I did, the reason I'm bringing this up is it's the most important thing anyone can do who is suffering, is tell your friends. Just like there's never judgment. I think mental health has had a lot of stigma. I think it's getting less and less, but just find at least one person today to be like, it's this bad, and don't hold anything back. Like, literally be like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm planning. Because I believe what happens with people who become suicidal, or at least for me, my experience and others I've talked to and some that I've lost, is that it's like the brain's broken. I mean, literally, it's no different than like a huge car accident, but it's invisible to everyone. And so think about it, like, how are you ever going to go to the hospital? How are you ever going to get the surgery? How are you ever going to get the PT if people don't see you mangled on the street? But if you're in that dark of a place, your brain is mangled. The neurons are not firing because it is not normal for us not to want to live, and especially me. I had tons of friends, I mean, all these reasons. But the most important thing I did, and the most important thing anyone can do, is just reach out for help. And yes, there's great crisis text lines, and there's all this mental health. Project Healthy Minds is one of my amazing partners with Enough. They have all these resources on their website. But I still think the most important thing is tell someone really close to you. I told my friends. I told my mom. Now, I hated that I was putting this on my mom, but I was also like, I just need to get through the next 6 months. Like, and over time, they helped me, make some very important decisions in my life, help me get off all the pharmaceuticals, help me go to a treatment facility. Like, I mean, my journey really was largely supported by the people that I shared. And also it's something about just talking about it, kind of takes the pressure away from it. It takes a little of the energy out of it.
So were you falsely diagnosed bipolar?
I think so. I mean, some people might. Who knows? This is one of my favorite tattoos. So if you can see this one, this is my,
who knows?
This is my partner in Tom's. Okay. Right. And so for those who are just listening, I remember not everyone's watching this, then maybe we'll post a picture of this. But this is Alejo. He started Tom's with me. And
wearing a beret?
What's that?
Is he wearing a beret?
Well, all these Argentine gauchos wear this hat. It's like a gaucho.
Yeah.
But anyways, he, in a very funny way, I won't tell the whole story because it'll take another half an hour, but he basically spoke for 20 minutes with certainty about all the things in his life that he saw through this vision and this whole thing after some psychedelics. And then he looked at me and he goes, but who knows?
Is he Argentinian?
Yeah.
That is a very Argentinian response.
And the thing is, the reason I tattooed it on my forearm is I think it's like it's literally like the Buddha talking to me. It was like so smart because it was like, we don't know. I don't know why I got depressed, but I know that it led to my next purpose. I don't know why I was in this relationship, but it led to me having kids, like who knows if it's good or bad, And so for me, I don't know. I really look at life with just a marvel now, and to not be, and that's goes for people's journeys, like someone difficult in your life, or maybe someone's not treating you well or whatever, like who knows why.
Do you think it's hard to be in a relationship with a founder?
I think it's hard to be in a relationship with me.
Do you?
Maybe not so anymore. I think at different periods of my life it was. I mean, I think it was very hard to be in a relationship with me when I was building and growing Tom's, because it was my first love, I mean, it really was. I mean, there's just, we were traveling around the world. We were giving shoes to kids. I was getting the external validation that someone who never feels enough needed. So I was getting it constantly, and so, it's hard to be in a relationship because in a relationship, you mess up, you forget to take the garbage out, you're late for dinner. Like, you're not exactly getting external validation every time you come home. But if you're getting it outside as a founder, especially if you have success, it's really hard. But then the interesting thing now is I'm in an incredible relationship with an amazing woman, and she's been part of the whole Enough, building all Enough, and it's going great. So I think a lot of it is I wouldn't say it's a founder. I'd say maybe first time founder, I don't know. But I do think that there are sacrifices, but I think the person knows that going in, and they're either in for that ride or they're not. And that's why you got to make sure that you have the same vision for, what you're doing. Because right now, helping people feel enough and raising money for mental health is, outside of my kids, like the most important thing going on. And if I was with someone that didn't also share that passion, it probably wouldn't work out very well.
So now when you get into a relationship, do you set it up different? Like,
I think I just got I think God threw me a bone on this one. I mean,
you didn't
she's so
sit down
amazing.
and say,
Just like,
is she here? She listening?
She is here.
Oh yeah.
Where is
Hopefully,
she?
no, you're doing this and she's not even listening. We'll have to send it to her later.
Yeah,
She
that's how
seems lovely.
independent she is. She's just like, I'm doing my thing.
like, I'm
You're doing
busy.
your thing.
No, but I'm curious. Like, I think we have a lot of people who ask questions about relationships. 'Cause
Yeah.
my husband and I
No, I
work
like it.
together.
I've watched some of your videos on Instagram about it. Yeah.
Well, I'm always like, I have no fucking idea. Talk to
Yeah.
me when I'm 80.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows, right?
Yeah,
I have
who
no idea.
knows?
Who knows? But I was curious, like, for entrepreneurs or somebody going into a relationship or trying to find their person,
Yeah.
like what would you fess up with somebody that you were in a relationship with now? What questions would you ask, the person?
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
Well, I think the first thing is just being radically honest about what your priorities are. The hard thing is, especially for someone who didn't feel enough, is that you kind of tell people what they want to hear so they'll love you, right? Versus like who you really are and what you're really about. And I think so I was kind of doomed, and I think my romantic partners are doomed because I never felt that I was enough. So in a sense, I was looking for them to tell me that I'm enough or to fill this hole that only I can fill, right? And so maybe I'm not leading with how important my business is or my purpose is because I want to say whatever it takes so that they're going to tell me I'm enough. Once I healed this, then I was able to, I think, attract a relationship and be really honest about, hey, my kids are my number one priority right now. I spend half my time with them. Next to that, I am on a mission to literally change the world's mental health. Like, I want to raise more money for mental health through Enough than anyone in the history of the world. Like, that's how big of a goal I have. And that's going to require me to go on a bunch of podcasts, to travel the world, to do speaking, to do all these things. And so most of our days are going to be living in a suitcase. And when I'm not in a suitcase, I want to surf. And I met a woman from Hawaii that surfs.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah. But it was like very clear, like when I'm not doing that, I really want to be surfing. And if you really like the idea of either surfing or being in a beach town and also traveling around the world on this crazy, enough ride, then great. And
That's such a good
but
point.
it was so much easier to be clear and honest because I wasn't looking for that external validation anymore. I was getting it from myself. I was really believing I am enough, whether this woman is excited about being on this ride with me or not. And then, therefore, I also attracted someone who they felt they were enough. And so they were able to be honest about what's important to them and what their needs are. And so I think it's hard. Being with a founder, being with an entrepreneur is not for everyone. But I also think that it's really hard if you struggle with what I've struggled with and you're a founder to not really kind of sell a vision of a life that's really not what you want.
Yeah. Well,
That's
also,
also what causes depression. I mean, I'm convinced that one of the largest causes of depression is just not living in integrity with yourself. For so many years, I was living the life that I thought everyone else wanted me to live. And I wasn't living the life I wanted to live. And I think that's what catches up to us is we make all these little compromises. Largely, I did it so that I would receive love. And then you wake up and you're living a whole compromised life. And that you don't want to live. And that's where your soul is like, well, I'm going to get depressed and feel horrible until you make major decisions to get back in alignment. And then you get back in alignment and everything feels at peace again.
That's so true. I also think the universe doesn't give you things when you're unclear. So, if you're like, no, I'll take whatever love I can get, that's not actually what you mean, then things go sideways.
Yeah.
And so it's so important. Even the way you set goals is really interesting to listen to. Because you're like, I wanted this woman that here are these things that are really important to me. And so they can decide one way or the other. And the way you set goals, my husband and I were talking the other day about how we were looking at like the greatest men of all time. If you look throughout history, and not
like
one
the best looking.
Yeah, exactly.
You and your husband sitting around. I think he's hot.
Chris would not like that. He would not be interested in that. He's like you. He's an ex-Navy SEAL surfer.
Okay.
But so he's a dude's dude. But we were like, none of these men have actually achieved their goals fully. Like, if you go to Napoleon, if you look back, throughout history, and you look at the biggest leaders in the world, they never achieved their goal. And yours is interesting because your goal was not, well, I want to sell 1 million bracelets. It's, I want to do more for mental health than anybody's ever done. I want to raise more money than ever. Do you think about goals a specific way? Is there like a right way or a wrong way to set goals for Blake?
I would definitely now. I'm glad you brought this up. So in the same sense, I'll say, I hope that these bracelets, every person on the planet wears one, and we raise more money than anyone in the history of mental health. And if I just help one dad tell his teenage daughter that she's enough, and read the poem that's in there to her, and that creates a tighter bond, we've had success. Like I literally, both goals, the dad-daughter one's more important. And that sounds like a great thing to say on a podcast or in a press thing or whatever, but I actually believe it. And the thing is already, we've only been doing this for like 2 weeks now. We've gotten the most incredible stories of, teenage girls giving it to each other, and it's like their new friendship bracelet. One had been really struggling with depression. She's like, hey, I want you to know I always got you and you are enough. Or I did hear about this dad and daughter. I heard about this son that gave it to his dad who said, I recognize that my dad's been depressed probably for like most of my adult life. He's a guy in his 30s. He's like, but I never knew how to ask him about it or talk to him. And I gave him the bracelet, and it opened up a whole conversation. And now my dad's going to therapy. It's like, so when I say goals, I believe you can set goals that are, not mutually exclusive. Like, I hope that this becomes huge, but if it doesn't, even if we touch a few people and create some interesting conversations and important healing, we've had success. I think there's been talk about, like, you set a goal and then you hold on to it very lightly. That's like, so you don't have the pressure of the goal. Like, goals are great because I do believe what you put out into the universe is often what you get back. So if you don't, like you said, if you don't tell the universe what you want, how the hell are you going to get it? How's it going to give it to you? And if you put pressure of like, oh, I'm only going to feel this project was successful if we raise $100 million, well, that's just a silly thing. But a lot of people do that, and a lot of founders do that. I mean, they set goals financially, like, oh, I need to sell my company for 40 million or 50 million, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. But really, the ones that build the great businesses are 100% focused on something that is not necessarily measurable and more cultural.
Big goals loosely held.
Yeah,
I love
big
that.
goals loosely held.
So good. Also, I think, I think about that a lot with everything we do. And it's one of my favorite things about the businesses you've built before. But, we started the beginning of the podcast with me saying, I try to always think about like one person specifically who listens to this. Because if you think about it, you hold something precious in your hands when you're taking somebody's attention. That's their life, right? That's lifespan. That's very precious. We don't get very many of those. No. And so if you imagine that we get millions of views a month across all the social channels, what a travesty if you and I don't give them something really worth spending their life on. Like, that would hurt me a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I remember, like, we haven't had very many, but we had 2 podcasts we had to kill because I was like, I got stuff out of it. Thank you so much for coming. But like 1 million hours on this, it's not enough. It's not good enough. And so I think one other thing I want to talk about, which is like why we put up the tree. We were struggling beforehand with this. If you guys are watching us, you're like, why is there this giant tree that looks so beautiful behind us? Beautiful. And we're struggling with what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then you told a story about wisdom and the Buddha that this reminded you of.
Yeah.
Will you tell us that story?
Yeah. So when I started Tom's, we grew beyond shoes into eyewear. We started selling sunglasses. And then we made a deal where we said, okay, if you buy a pair of our sunglasses, we'll pay for a cataract surgery to someone who's blind. We found out that the greatest cataract surgeons in the world are at this hospital in India, in Lundini. And we decided to go there and watch people get their eyesight back. I mean, it was literally one of the greatest experiences of my life. I mean, literally, I saw grandparents that had never seen their grandkids and see them for the first time because of a surgery that someone got because someone bought a pair of sunglasses on toms.com or something. I mean, it's crazy.
And how much does that surgery cost then?
It cost like $16 back then. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, so with one pair of shoes, you're able to cure eyesight.
Well, no, with eyewear. We just saw eyewear for $115.
That makes sense.
And $16 of it went to paying the surgery. So anyway, so we go to Lindini, and they didn't tell me this until we got there, but also Lindini is the birthplace of the Buddha. And I looked over, and they're like, that's the tree. Now, whether that was a tree or not, who knows? But it was a tree that looks just like this. And I have a photo. I have to find it. Probably we can get it for the show of me sitting underneath the tree. And I remember sitting there, and this was before I got depressed. This was like when Tom's was really taking off. I was in my flow. I was very connected to it for all the right reasons. I wasn't putting all the external pressure. And I just remember thinking, like, if this is it, if there's nothing else that happens with this idea, like, and I'd just seen some eye surgeries, I was like, that's all that matters. And I think that's like the way I want to live my life each day, each week, each month, going back to goals. Like at the end of the day, I kind of be like, okay, if that's the last one, I'm okay with it, And after the week or after the month, if that's it, I'm okay with it. Because that's, again, about living in alignment, And for me, having gone through such a scary time where for days I thought it was going to end very soon, I just feel like I have like this, they say new lease on life. Like I feel like I get this like second chance. And so that's why I'm spending all my time trying to help others not feel the way I felt and really connect people, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's all we have are our relationships and our own mental health. Because if we don't have mental health, it doesn't matter what physical health you have.
Yeah. So what do you do now? Like if you're feeling down, not even going all the way back, but if you're feeling down or you want to feel re-inspired, what do you turn to? What activities, what books, what readings, what quotes?
So, okay, this is silly, but one of the things I'm doing right now, and it's not silly. It's just I don't know how people respond to this. Okay,
I like this.
Yeah, I know you're gonna like this. So, about 2 months ago, I started using AI therapy. Now, a lot of people ask ChatGPT mental health stuff, but there's this app called Sonia, Sonia.ai, and I met the founder at a mental health conference. And he was giving a presentation and explaining how it works and how it's, built on the LLMs, but they've basically taken, every therapist, every case study, every book ever written, put it in there and tried to design. And they call it emotional support. I think for legal reasons, they call it emotional support instead of AI therapy, but it's AI therapy. And so anyways, I was like, well, I've done a lot of therapy. I mean, if anyone's done therapy, I've done a lot of therapy. And one of the things that's really a bummer with therapy is if I have a panic attack, it doesn't happen at 2:00 on a Thursday or 2:00 on a Thursday. It happens at 4 fucking in the morning. And my therapist, I don't care how much money you have, no therapist is answering your call at 4:00 in the morning. And so I was like, wow, because I still struggle with anxiety. I still have these issues that come up, and especially with like launches of new things and, just am I always thinking, am I being good enough dad? And all these things. I wake up and I have stress about, oh my gosh, I didn't do this or that. And so now it's like, boom, it's right there at 4 in the morning. And I don't have to do a whole hour session. I could do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
And it works?
It works unbelievable.
So what happens if you go, I'm panicking?
Yeah. So literally, you go in and you get to choose, like, I like to be talked to, like I like a therapist that is like really direct, or I like one that's more like light, or one this. And like you kind of fine tune. It takes like 10 minutes. And then, of course, as memory, so it never forgets anything. And you tell them what's going on. And like I started off saying, like, this is my core wound. I never felt that I was enough. And so this is what I've done. This is what helped me. I had this mantra-based meditation. I do these things. And so I taught it that. And then I teach it, like, okay, one of my biggest sources of stress is this in my personal life, or this. And so it starts figuring all this out. And so then when I say I'm having a panic attack this morning, it knows what to check in about. Well, how did you sleep, for instance? One of the things that I have is like, I have a really high focus on sleep. And if I don't get good night's sleep, I can feel off. And it feels almost like if I ever have jet lag, it almost feels like depression. Like they kind of feel the same to me. And so it'll check in on my sleep. And then it'll be like, okay, well, like one of the things that we've recognized, like me and Sarah, it's so funny how it talks to you, is like that, you really have a trouble when things get too performative. So when you're having to out there sell or do too much press or too much of that, like that's the old Blake. And it will call it like we've talked enough where it's like that's the Blake before all the growth. The new Blake likes connection. So are you having enough connection? And this week, what are you doing this week to have more connection?
That's great. So it doesn't just do what like ChatGPT does,
Oh,
which
no,
is
no.
like, you're great, you're perfect. The other guy's a
No.
dick
It's like
narcissist.
so specific. And then if I say, what I'm doing on Thursday this week to have more connection, I'm going to commit to, going on a run with my friend Pat. It'll send me a text message Thursday morning and say, hey, are you doing the run with Pat today?
Are we investing in this company? What's happening?
I want to. I mean, literally, right now, I literally just working with the founders. I'm one of the things I'm also trying to do a lot now is mentor young entrepreneurs, especially if they're building businesses that can help people with their mental health. And so when I met these guys, I was like, hey, I don't know. First off, I just wanted to try it myself, and then it was working so well. And then they know the Tom story, and then I presented at the mental health conference, and they're like, "Hey, can you help us some?" And so I've been mentoring them. So I might invest. We'll see. But I mean, who knows where this is going? I don't even know if it's going to be legal. But right now, it's free at Sonia.ai, so you can do it. Right now, it's legal and it's free. I don't know if it will be forever, but yeah.
What about
But that's really helping me, and I guess the point I bring that up is I think what helps me the most is to have a dependable tool, and every tool that works for someone else. So one of my friends who's a recovering alcoholic, still deals with a lot of anxiety, starts to get, out of sorts, cold plunge, or cold shower. That's his tool. Just boom. He won't even allow himself to call someone or talk to a therapist until he does that first. Right now, this Sonia thing is my tool. And, everyone has a tool. But I think that's the thing I would say is if someone's struggling, find a tool that can interrupt the rumination, the negative thinking, all that stuff. And so that's really a big tool for me. And then my other tool is my bracelet. I just have it. I wear it. I talk about it. I, give it out to people all the time. Tools are important.
It's a good point. It's a pattern interrupt.
Yeah, that's what we need. Because I think when we get out of sorts, when we start feeling negative thoughts, when we start ruminating, when we, it's all just a pattern. It's just our brain. It's just like the brain is sending, for 40-something years, my brain told me I wasn't enough. And so what I did for 40 days is I did a mantra-based meditation, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, where I simply just said, I'm enough. I've always been enough. And I'd laugh because it was so silly. And it felt stupid for the first couple of weeks. And then it started working. I started feeling it. But all I did was just change that pattern.
I love that. Yeah, I just had Tony Robbins on the podcast.
Oh, great. I love
him.
We've met briefly once. We've never spent any time together. I want to have him on my podcast.
Oh, you should.
Because he talks a lot about feeling enough.
Oh, yeah. And he has one of, I think, the most intense presences of anybody that I've met. And so I was at his house and we spent a good amount of time with him. And I remember when he walked in the room, I was like, whoa, that he's
a big guy, right?
But we've had a lot of big, there's a lot of big guys. Yeah. But what really took me away is that man is locked in. I was like, oh, fuck, he knows what's going on in here. He is so locked in. Yeah. And then, kind of similar to you, he was it was a lot of curiosity, which you seem to have the same thing. Yeah. Why are you this way? Why am I this way? And then once I figure it out, how do I put a tool in place to figure out the solution? Yeah. Which I think is really interesting. But he would be great for your podcast. Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about, now it's so interesting to me that you could have ever been in this dark place because the way you come off is so much joy to be, so much big, huge energy for life.
It's crazy.
And so I was wondering, today, what has you so excited? Obviously this, but when you wake up in the morning, is it that you're going to go surf that day? Is it that you get to build again?
I think what has me most excited about life right now is service. It's just I'm getting to help people again.
You've always
I know right now, this podcast, there's 1,000% chance that there's someone listening who's really in a tough place. There's also probably people that are feeling stuck, feeling uninspired, feeling insecure. I felt those things. For years, I didn't have one business idea for 7 years. For 2 years, I was a shell of myself. My friends say literally they look in my eyes and there was no one there. I mean, I couldn't even raise my voice to this octave for 2 years. And so because I felt that way, and it was so scary and it was so recent, that I think I wake up now and I'm kind of like,
How do you engineer your life? Like, it almost seems like you've adventured your entire career. It's one of the things I struggle with.
adventure?
Yeah. Like,
I do. I always make time for adventure.
but so in my business, we were just talking about this. And I'm like, man, when I'm in my little entrepreneurship grind, it's kind of all I do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so deep in it. And I talk to a lot of people, it's the same. They're just like, they grind every single day.
Yeah.
And you seem like a type of person who has always integrated sort of the rest of life into it.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Two things. One is I really schedule joy. So I believe that like a lot of people hope for joy or awe or these big moments to come to them. Like I put it on the calendar the same way you have a board meeting. Like I'm like, for 1 week a month, I'm going surfing. Now you can't surf all day long. So I'll surf from 5 in the morning till 10, get my joy. I'll do Zoom calls from 10 to 4. And me and my lady will go for a walk on the beach. We'll have a nice dinner. We'll do, a sunset. And that's my day. Mm-hmm. And that is like as important as the press week in New York last week. And so I really, really schedule that. And that's, that's nice that I can go somewhere, say where there's surf or whatever. Not every person can do that. But what is that for you? Like, what is that joy? Is it taking guitar lessons? Is it learning something new on YouTube? Like, what is that thing? Because if you don't schedule that, then like, what's the purpose? What's the point? Because
do you do it every day too?
No, I wish. I mean, if I'm really, really like operating a 10 out of 10, then I'm like making sure I protect a couple hours, early in the morning to, usually it's physical activity or it's playing golf, like 9 holes at sunset, with my son or with my friends or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
but it's at least once a month. So it's like
once a month,
schedule joy.
I try to schedule a month. Now, I always get a week. No, but I definitely get at least a 4 days. There's not a month that goes by that I don't have 4 days where I'm just like, see ya.
And do you always do something weird? Like going to India or like surf? It's not just like, it seems like
that's more my personality than I think what I would share. Like going back to how do we help the person who's listening to this and focusing on them? Like, yes, I do a lot of just crazy adventures because that's just always how I've been. Like, I've always been, racing cars or climbing mountains or, I like the adrenaline of those things. But also I think you can schedule this, if someone's just like, I love reading and I'm going to schedule 4 days where I go, it could be like you go camping. It could cost nothing. And I'm just going to sit and read the books that I've been wanting to read for 2 years, or I'm going to go and just like one thing I did that was, I guess it was a little bit out there, but very simple was I hiked the Camino Trail for a week with Alejo this summer. So we just walked for a week. We didn't run.
I'm a big walker.
Yeah. We just walked. We got up, walked, ate, walked. Like it was the most boring thing I've ever done. And one of the most profound because my whole nervous system reset and I was able to process the depression and all the things I went through and the pain I caused others and the pain others caused me. And I was able to forgive them and forgive myself. And I was like, man, this is better than any therapy retreat I've ever been to. And all I did for a week was walk.
I love that.
Yeah. And so I think it could be, I did that in Spain, but I could have done that, in Marin where I live,
Yeah.
So I think that
actually,
yeah,
I just looked up. This is so funny, but my hobby this year is literally more walking because I like thinking a lot while walking. But you know that there are 52 trails in the US where you can do more than a 7-day walk that are supposed to be seen as highly scenic.
Yeah.
And you can camp along them. So like if you chat GPT it right now, anybody listening, totally free, maybe $7-12 to camp.
Yeah.
And then you can go for a walk.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start walking all around the country and having beautiful ideas while you do it. And not being sedentary like your chair.
Exactly.
So that we can get all our steps
Sitting
in.
is the new smoking.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Blake walking episode.
Here's
BigDeal
the
podcast.
slogan I'm pitching. We're talking to the chair company. I'll see what you think as a business person. Really simple. Never still.
Oh, God, that's true. Plus, I'm into that. I don't like being still.
Yeah. So now when you're sitting, the other thing about the chair thing, not to make this all about that, but they're going to love this. So they thought it was to help, with get people, not being still, help with the back pain, help with the, but what they found, like the biggest hack is people have ADHD. Because what happens, do you?
Totally.
So you know how like if you really focus on something, you kind of need to be doing something else.
Oh, totally.
You like to fidget, you like this, you doodle, you ring.
Mhm.
So they've shown that you can really focus. Well, we've done all this research to show that by sitting in this chair, your body is just doing this kind of, you can barely see it, and it allows you to hyper focus on whatever you're doing. So
sold.
Yeah, you're getting one for sure.
I'm totally sold.
And hopefully all your guests will be sitting in one.
Okay, so I want to leave the person listening here that like just needs to listen to Blake today,
Yeah.
like your parting words. So like there's that person out there, you have something to imbue to them. What comes to you first? What do you want to leave the listener?
I just think that what I want to say is that it will pass. No matter what you're going through, no matter how hard it is, like just it will get better. It always does if you just hang on and you take the steps to do the things. So go out for the walk, reach out to a friend, journal for 30 seconds, not even 5 minutes, just 30 seconds of something that you're appreciative of. But no matter how hard it is, it will pass. I didn't think it was going to pass. I thought I was trapped. I thought I'd made too many mistakes. I had too much shame. And that's why I had such dark thoughts. But looking back now, I'm like, it was always going to pass. I just had to hold on. I just had to start doing one thing at a time. I just had McConaughey on my podcast, and he talks about one in a row. Just get one in a row today. And so that would be my advice, is like knowing, like, or not even advice, just I want you to hear that it will pass and it will get better, but you got to do the work. You got to put it in.
Like, who would have thought? Least interesting thing about you is that you sold your company for $600 million. Least interesting. Thank you so much for being here today.
I got to give you a bracelet before we're done.
Oh, we're going to do it right now.
Absolutely.
I love this.
So here we go. So we take one out. This is for you. And it says, so you got to make sure I do this right. Yep. So open your palm.
Okay.
Okay. And for those who are listening, I'm putting enough bracelets.
Matches my outfit today. I didn't even wear green on purpose.
And
I love this.
I'm going to read you something. Okay. So this is a little poem. Do you know the poet NQ?
Mm-mm.
So he's an amazing poet, friend of mine. And I said, how do I share this with someone besides just giving it to him? Like, like if I really want them to feel this, then what can we say? So here it is. So Cody, I see you, the you behind the you, not for anything you've done or anything you're going to do. I don't stop to say it enough, but I believe in you. And if you could see yourself from my view, you'd believe it too. That's why I'm giving you the gift that I'm receiving too. A message to remind you when you're lost or feeling blue. A mantra to repeat when times are tough, because no matter who we are always enough. It's a silent prayer I'm sending for the world's mental health. I wear the symbol for myself and now as a bond to someone else. It's a blessing and a gentle push to never give up, because no matter who you are enough.
So good. Beautiful. Also, why you're a marketing legend. Blake, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people go to find you?
Weareenough.co is the website for Enough. And then I'm on Instagram at Blake Mykoski, and the Pivot Chair, PVOT.
Yeah, we'll put all the links down below.
And the 30 people that I would love to be our ambassadors, I'm looking to your community to help me get to them.
I like it.
I love this idea.
And we'll ping somebody with your brilliant marketing ideas too, and help them find that.
Yes.
What did we call it? We called it utility marketing.
Utility marketing.
We got a little trademark for Blake today.
Let's do 10 people.
Whoa.
Yeah, 10 people.
I love it.
10 people.
Okay.
Tell us what you need help with utility marketing. What are they going to comment?
So they're going to comment on YouTube. Basically, just tell us what your product is.
And then I'll just make them a video of my idea.
I love this idea. All right. You're the man. Blake,
thank you.
This was so great. You can be the smartest person in the room and still sound dumb and lose the room entirely because of the way you speak. And I should know because I have had it happen to me too. So today I am breaking down the speaking patterns that quietly sabotage us, especially high achievers, from founders and CEOs to everyday humans just tired of not getting heard. And once you know these, you'll start noticing them everywhere. I'm Codie Sanchez, and this is the Big Deal podcast. This is how you get attention like a CEO. All right, let's go to trap number 1, excessive hedging. People ignore everything you say before the word but. Did you know that? So if you say, I could be totally off here, but, and then you drop a perfectly solid point, neuroscience finds you're going to get ignored. And this is actually, there's a word for this. It's called linguistic hedging, and it's killing your competency score. So every single human, immediately, when we meet another one, gets graded on 2 things mainly, warmth and competency. If you want to be listened to, you better be competent, even above being warm in the world of business. So the research on linguistic hedging shows that excessive qualifiers reduce perceived competence and authority, especially in high status environments. To say that in English, if you use but, I don't know, maybe, could be, I'm not sure, prepared to be pushed around like a rag doll, even when the content quality of what you say is unchanged. So you could be saying really smart things, but you're going to be tossed. There's this classic persuasion finding where speakers who presented arguments confidently were rated as more credible. Okay, that kind of makes sense, even when their arguments were identical to more hesitant versions. But a really scary study, they did a follow-on study that showed people who argued more confidently but were wrong were rated even more credible than those who argued not confidently but were right. So confidence is actually a heuristic. People don't consciously score your logic, they score your certainty. So why do smart people do this then? Why do we hedge? Because you're aware of the complexity. You and I both know reality is kind of probabilistic, and, so we hedge. You don't want to sound like some sort of sycophant out there saying, everyone should do this. You always do this. This never works, because that's not realistic. But the problem, do you want to win or do you want to be right? And now here's some important nuance. Hedging isn't always bad, but it largely is. I mean, there's something called strategic hedging, which signals, hey, I'm intellectually honest. But most hedging you're doing is insecurity hedging, which signals I'm scared of being judged. Let's be honest. What are we usually doing? We're probably more scared of being judged than really strategically thinking about how to hedge. So let me show you the difference between the two. Let's say, I think we should move forward with point A. However, we have to take into account that there is a 30% failure rate. If we do that, that could be an issue. As opposed to, I want to move forward with point A, but there's always a chance that it's not going to work. And I can't guarantee it 100%. Which one sounds more serious? Obviously the first one. I gave numbers. I stated things as opposed to questioning things. So here's the test. Are you adding nuance for clarity, or are you padding your statement to avoid social risk? Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we make you sound smart and people pay attention to you? Instead of saying, I might be wrong, but I think we should cut this feature, I want you to say, based on the data we have, cutting this feature is the right move. And if you want to be even better, say what the data is. Based on the data we have, we believe with a 70% probability, this is the right move. Give numbers and specifics. So this is the same thought, but just a slightly different posture. I want you to avoid excessive hedging because it's making people stop paying attention to you. Steve Jobs was famous for being the opposite of this. He'd have one sentence that tells you what to think. I call it his Twitter length headline. So he'd have one for the whole talk or product. So maybe like, today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. This is the world's thinnest notebook. An entire library of songs in your pocket, right? Everything else was proof of that one line, one idea repeated, no hedging. The second trap is over-explaining. Smart people love clarity and they hate being misunderstood. So they explain, then they clarify, then they get an example, then they restate the example, then they summarize the summary. Yikes. What happens? You signal one of 2 things. Your audience is either slow or you think your idea can't stand on its own, and neither is going to help your credibility. And there's nothing more infuriating to a competent person than having somebody over-explain an idea they already got on the first sentence. So if you really want to piss off somebody with ADD, OCD, and high competence, then explain yourself a lot. I hate to say it, this isn't PC, but ladies, we do this more than men. And we have to work on it if we want to be taken seriously. There's actual real research in cognitive psychology that has identified something called processing fluency. So when something is easy to understand, people judge it as more truthful and more intelligent. So ironically, over-explaining actually reduces your fluency. It makes simple things feel heavy. And you've seen this, like someone explains a concept for 5 minutes and you think, what is this guy talking about? Like the idea could be good, but the delivery, well, that makes everything else get tossed out the window. So what's the fix? I want you to deliver the core idea concisely. Pause. Let silence do the work. If someone wants more depth, they'll ask. Authority ends up trusting the listener. So let me give you an example. 2 explanations. Low fluency. Our vertically integrated infrastructure leverages synergistic distribution pathways to optimize cross-sector capital allocation. Don't we all know somebody who talks like that, by the way? That's low fluency. High fluency. We buy boring businesses that make money. Which one sounds smarter? Actually, the second one. Which one feels more trustworthy? Number 2. Which one gets remembered? Sure as hell, number 2. Because smart people take complex things and make it simple. And it's not about this cognitive load or using a bunch of vowels. Another fascinating study. If you look at stocks with easy names, researchers found that companies with the easiest to pronounce names like car outperformed those with hard to pronounce names like RDO. Naming actually matters. And in marketing, this is really true. This is why Apple ads work so well. Think about them. Simple background, minimal text, one product, clear headline. What do? That reduces your cognitive load. You don't have to think so hard. Your brain just goes, that makes sense, and it must be premium. And it makes, processing fluency basically makes simple look smart. And there's some dangerous sides to this. Like it can make bad ideas look good. That's why scams use simple language and conspiracy theories spread wildly. It's why charismatic leaders will win. We all know one, right? You know one right now who is not as smart as you, not as good as you, but often wins because they're smoother. And so how do you use this ethically? If you want to sound more intelligent, we want shorter sentences. We want concrete nouns, no jargon, white space, speak slower, remove filter words. This is one of those ideas that quietly runs the world. So keep it stupid simple. Trap 3, talking too fast when it matters. Ever seen someone's pitch get higher? Their words speed up, their breath shortens. Why? Their nervous system is firing. When we're anxious, the sympathetic nervous system, it activates. That's like your heart rate rises, breathing shifts, speech accelerates. Listeners unconsciously interpret that speed as uncertainty. Even if actually you know what the fuck you're talking about, you just talk fast like I do. So studies on vocal perception show that slower, lower paced speech is actually associated with higher status and greater credibility. Now you got to be careful here because when you're talking to your boss, don't try to be profound. You want to make sure you are tied to the right timing. But when you rush your most important points, you subconsciously signal, I need to get through this before you reject it. What's the fix? When you reach your most important sentence, slow down by 20%. Add micro pauses. Breathe before the key line. For example, instead of saying, so what I'm saying is we should pivot the whole strategy because the data is clearly showing diminishing returns. Try, I think we should pivot. The data is showing diminishing returns. You can make everything fast up until then, but when you've got your plane to land, land it. I want you to remember the 3 S's. Shorter, slower, stronger. They use this on us in advertising. Like, listen to the speed of this part of the Apple speech. Think different. Here's to the crazy ones.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
They basically relaunched Apple's brand around creativity and nonconformity, but done really cleanly, slowly, and strategically. Trap 4, story, not specs. So I'm using Steve Jobs a lot in this because he's one of my favorite entrepreneurs, but also because he's one of the best of all time. And he is one of the best speakers ever. So we should steal his homework. And I think he followed a simple arc: status quo to problem, to bold promise, to proof, to the future. So he would start with words like the world before, phones are clunky, laptops are heavy. Then he'd raise the stakes to make a clear promise, but in the future, you will hold all of the songs in your pocket. Then he would show the solution live. Bam, show, don't tell. Because people remember the story change, not the feature list. So you see, when you lead with ruthless simplicity, you can actually tell a story. Steed's slides and language were stripped down. Few words on screen, big visuals, almost no bullets. I want you to think of short, concrete phrases instead of jargon, like, it just works. Or once on stage, he's just said, gorgeous. Because the story was simple, the audience, they had the bandwidth to feel it in their brain. One of my favorites on Jobs was a speech that he gave on connecting dots at Stanford. And he has a couple lines I love. He's talking about when he does calligraphy and he learns computing and coding and he puts them together and he creates maybe the world's most valuable company. And he says, you have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference. Trap 5, being a show-off. This one hurts because it's actually hard for me. It's really tempting to play it cool. You should actually be a show-off. The people who win in life are not the ones in the shadows. They are the ones who actually demonstrate what they do. I was just on a podcast with Bill Gurley, one of the best investors of all time. And he told me something fascinating about the founder of WeWork, Adam Neumann. He said when he first met him in his Series A, so the company basically had nothing in existence. His company, Benchmark, had never done a real estate transaction. That's what this guy was asking him to do. But he goes, within the first few minutes, I knew I was going to invest in Adam and I was going to invest millions because he was such a showman. Think about who the president is right now, whether you like him or hate him. Donald Trump is a showman. Think about who's the richest man in the world right now, whether you like him or hate him. Elon Musk is a showman. So you actually need to flex. You know more than most people in the room. You've read the research. You understand the second order effects. You're smarter than you're giving yourself credit for. So flex it. I don't want you to reference obscure frameworks. I don't want you to add theoretical layers that aren't necessary because I want you to get recognized. But research on the illusion of explanatory depth and communication shows that the simpler you are, the more intelligent you are perceived. So the smartest communicators, they actually reduce complexity. They don't amplify it. Einstein supposedly said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Whether he said it or not, I think it's true. Smart, insecure speakers try to prove they're smart. Secure, smart speakers make everyone else feel smart. Think about that for a second. That's the power. So here's the fix. Go big and show, but default to the show being simple. Clarity beats cleverness every time. Trap 6, obsessive rehearsal. Most people think great speakers are born with it. They are not. They are the ones willing to rehearse more than is reasonable. Psychologist Anders Ericsson spent decades studying world-class performers like violinists, chess players, athletes, surgeons, all of it. And his conclusion, and uncomfortable for everyone who likes the idea of quote unquote talent, the main difference between the elite and the average wasn't who they were. It's how they practice. By age 20, the best violinists in his studies had put in more than 10,000 hours of focused practice. The merely good ones had about 4,000. Same instrument, same age, totally different outcomes. And later research really refined the picture. Practice isn't the only factor. Like deliberate practice. That explains roughly 1/5 to 1/4 of the performance gap between pros and amateurs. In other words, if you line up 100 people, a big part of why the top 5 look superhuman is they simply have done it more on purpose for longer. Public speaking, no different. Speaking well every day, no different. The speakers who don't rehearse are the ones who ramble, run out of time, panic, and have a voice in their head telling them that they're not saying the right things coming out of their mouth. The ones who run the talk out loud multiple times, well, they're calm and clear, baby. So when you watch someone who seems effortlessly good on stage, you're actually seeing something else entirely. hours of practice, hours of cutting out weak examples, hours of practicing the pause after the key line. So I don't want you to feel like you either have talent or you don't. You can make it. And if you want to see nobody better, go look at Steve Jobs. I mean, one of the best speakers of all time. But did you know he would say the natural delivery, he engineered it. People inside Apple say he rehearsed keynotes aloud for hours and even was so specific down to fonts and demo beats. Because the material was internalized, he could look at people move and improvise around this sort of solid spine of his speeches. But, the best shorthand for how he speaks and why he's heard is the fact that he practiced for a really long time. Trap 7, constant self-deprecation. This one is common among us high performers. You joke about being bad at things. You downplay wins. You undercut compliments. I know sometimes it feels humble, and maybe sometimes it is, but overuse of this is nothing but self-sabotage. So research on impression management shows that strategic modesty works when balanced with being super competent. But the problem is chronic self-deprecation actually lowers your perceived ability, especially among people who don't know you yet. So there's actually a fabulous study on self-promotion versus modesty in job interviews. It's by Godfrey, Jones, and Lohr. And what they studied, the researchers wanted to test how different self-preservation strategies affect how people perceive you. Like, does modesty increase likability, for instance? So how did they do it? The participants acted as evaluators in a mock hiring scenario. They watched videotaped job interviews where applicants used different communication strategies: self-promotion, ingratiation, modesty, neutral controlled condition. The actors delivered identical qualifications, no different, right? Same resume, same background, same everything, except the style of delivery changed. After watching, evaluators rated the candidates on competence, likability, hireability. What do you think happened? Self-promotion increased ratings of competence, intelligence, and recommendations for hiring. Slight decrease in likability if too strong, but not that much. Ingratiation and modesty increased likability, but actually didn't increase competence, reduced perceived capability, and also reduced likelihood of them being referred for hire. The key insight: strategic self-promotion actually gets you hired. You being modest isn't helping anybody else but your competitors. And, I really want you to think about this, because a lot of times somebody will give you a compliment like, "You did a great job. That was a great presentation." And you reply, "Honestly, I totally winged it. It was kind of a mess." You just rewrote their perception. Upgrade move, accept the praise. Thank you. That's it. You don't need to shrink to be likable. Confidence with warmth is magnetic. Insecurity disguised as humor, nothing but transparent. So the pattern behind all these traps, if we're going to zoom out, is fear of social rejection, being wrong, fear of being judged, not being liked. Smart people feel this more because you actually see all the complexity of this. Oh, to be a beautiful idiot, right? You know how much you don't know. And so here's the paradox. The people who win rooms aren't the ones who know the most. They're the ones who manage perception of others best. And perception is heavily influenced by delivery, not just content. It's not about pretending. It's not like the fake alpha energy. It's really about aligning to how you can get the outcome you want. Your job isn't to defend against every possible criticism. It's to communicate clearly and let your ideas stand. And so I want you to ask yourself a couple questions. A simple speaking reset framework. Before important conversations, run this checklist. Am I hedging unnecessarily? Am I over-explaining? Am I rushing? Am I overcomplicating? Am I landing statements confidently? Am I comfortable with silence? Pick one thing to improve per week. Don't try to fix everything at once. Awareness alone is going to upgrade you 15, 20, 30%, because practice actually will help you upgrade the rest. Most smart people are not held back because you're dumb. You're held back because how that intelligence is delivered. If you fix the delivery, suddenly the room treats you like the smartest person there because now you sound like it. So if you want to outperform your peers in anything that involve words, there's a simple unfair advantage available to you. Rehearse more than they do and rehearse with intent. Run the talk through out loud. Fix one thing each time. Do that obsessively and people will start calling you unnatural. That's it for today. And next time you're in a meeting, listen for these traps. You're going to hear them everywhere. And once you do, you'll come back here and we'll figure out your next step.